So I've currently got the track Stare Into Space open, where we're going to be looking at the vocals. For Stare Into Space, I record the vocals again with the Behringer B Pro 2, which is an absolutely beautiful condenser microphone, if you didn't already know. So getting cracked on, we're going to start with the main vocal now. Now, with this track being a shoegaze track, the point was to sing like very, very softly, and have like really, really soft parts. So I'll then go through my chain once I play a little bit, so you can see how I went about getting the sound I got. I'm going to turn the reverb off as well. As you can hear, it's very quiet. When I'm feeling so, at the start of the chain, I've got my Pro compressor. I did, hands up, just use the preset lead vocal. From there, I then adjusted it, because obviously the vocals were very, very quiet, so I need to adjust the threshold. There's not a lot of makeup gain going on here, because I didn't really need it, to be honest. Like, the vocals were quite loud once I'd like got my chain all together. So just adding that Pro compressor. Let's have a listen now. I can't sleep. So as you can see, just a touch of compression going on here. It feels like. So next up from there, we've got our EQ. So it felt, with me singing so low, there was a lot of low range. So in order to pull back any mud, I pulled down the warmth of around 177 hertz by about 4 dB. I also wanted to push the clarity, because this is a very dense mixed track. The way in which I went about doing that is by boosting it at about 2 kilohertz. And as well as this, to remove any sibilance from this boost at 2 kilohertz, at around 8 kilohertz, I made a 3 dB decrease. And there's a little roll off at the bottom end as well, just for later on when I'm trying to push the levels of stuff, that I don't get any like unwanted sub rumble if it were to occur. Next up from that, we've got our saturator on. I did just use the snare drum preset for this, for the sake of time. I have pulled back the drive a bit now though, and also changed from the US to the Swiss machine, because I think it just sounds a bit darker and a bit nicer to listen to. So anyway, now that we've added those, we have a listen to what it sounds like now. I'm wasting my time when I'm not wasting time with you. So then after that, as much as I like the breaths, there was some bits where like my lips are like clapping together and I don't like the sound of it. So I've used the expander and the gate to like get rid of those like extra noises that I wasn't like keen on hearing, like also undesirable noises. So obviously, even though I used a preset, I had to readjust all these settings to fit the track. With a gate, it's not as simple as just shutting it on and just waiting for it to work. Which made a massive difference really. It saved me having to go through and like edit out all the little breaths and little noises I've made. And then finally after that, I did another EQ to further bring down the sibilance, but this time it was about 6.45 kilohertz, and I brought that down by 3 dB. The reason I added an extra 7 band is I wasn't sure if I was going to need to make any extra changes beyond that, so I just left myself with the room, rather than adjusting the one we've already done. And then from that, this is what we got. So come and lay here, stare into space. So I was very happy with that, so much so that I then moved on to the reverb. For the reverb, I use quite a long reverb. As you can see, like the room size is about 40%. There's a lot of ambience in this. And I use the preset empty room, and the reverb time's around 0.8 seconds with no pre-delay, mainly because I'm using this reverb for quite a few different things. So with me adding that, so have a look. As you can see, it's not that high, but the reverb's quite strong, and you'll hear the difference when you listen to the vocal now. Wherever obviously a lot of reverb going on there, but it was quite effective, I'd say, in the mix. So now that we've got the main vocal down to sit in the back ends. So originally I had recorded loads of little parts because I wanted the main vocal, then the backing vocals on the sides, and I had them all throughout the track, including the choruses. But honestly, like, in trying to keep the track as minimal as possible, I sacked off all of the vocals and the verses and just kept them for the choruses. So it's about the same, it's exactly the same mix for both. So I've used the 76, which is fairly compressed. The release is quite fast and the attack is around the middle. So they both have the same settings of the 76. From there, I did a quite extreme EQ. In trying to like push them in the mix, I did a massive roll off from around 300 hertz with 6 dB dropping per octave. And then to get rid of any unnecessary warmth that wasn't needed, I cut by about 4.5 dB around 200 hertz. Massive boost of 8 decibels at 1.27 kilohertz. Again, this is just for like the clarity, like bang on in the mids, trying to push the vocal, and honestly it worked, so I can't really complain. And then obviously to tackle that massive boost, I've took a big scoop out at 4.89 kilohertz by around 7 dB. So first off, before I get into that, I should probably show you what the vocal sounds like dry. Right, let's have a look. So this section here, this is with the compressors on. Let's cut back to the beginning of the chorus. I'll put the EQ on. So as you can hear, it works really well. The compression like brings it to a nice level that they both very harmonically work together. Next up now is my saturator, which is very driven. More driven than the main vocal, with it being at about 3/4 of the way. I did this as a way of like boosting the harmonics even more, and I wanted the backing vocals to be present but not clear as a vocal, but like there is the way I would describe it, which in doing the saturation thing really like pushes that a bit. So let's have a listen to that now. And then, rather than re-recording more vocals, I have this plugin called Vocal Doubler, and I wanted to try it out. I've not had a chance to use it again, so this is where my experimentation comes in. I wanted to add this as a way of like... So as you can hear, when I do play it, it's very like chorusy and like it has a lot of like modulation, similar sounds, but it's always speeding up and slowing down as a vocal double would, which I quite like the sound of, and I think it worked really well for this track. I then used the same reverb I used on the main vocal, but pushed it a little harder. Just have a listen to that. So it's really like getting away from like what it originally sounded like, but that's kind of what I was aiming for, because like in the mix, I didn't want a standout vocal. I wanted something, well, standout backing vocals. I wanted something like almost like a pad, or something like more orchestral than just like some oohs or ahs. Now, my next decision was a bit of a shot in the dark, but I was like, hang on, what if I tried putting a rotary on the backing vocal, trying to obviously keep with that idea of like moving it away from what would be a vocal. So I used the plug-in roto speaker. On its normal settings, I haven't adjusted it at all. The only thing I did was pull the mix down by up to 41%. And I instantly fell in love with how it sounds. I think it takes the track to this like completely different place. And I'm so happy that I found this little experimental mistake. So let's have a listen to that. And I just absolutely loved it. I used it for just those parts. Let's have a listen now with the main vocal. And then obviously, as mentioned, I have those vocals panned hard left, hard right with my centre vocal in the middle. So yeah, that's it for the vocals. I'll just play it one more time for you. I'm going to play it from the beginning of the chorus. So yeah, that's for the vocals for you.